Well, hello. Thank you so much for looking in today and stopping by. What we will do today is we will do some readings. We'll do a 5-card, pick a card, as I so often do as we go on with this. But today, let's start off with an angel card, actually. There's been stuff going on in the news, my goodness, and we'll talk about that. I'm not a big political reader, but we will have a look as we go, because I think it's quite important, particularly because I'm actually going to record this and upload it as well, I hope, if uploading works, on the 13th of April 2021, which is Ramadan. And it's that kind of issue that's come up as far as I'm concerned. But we're going to start off with an angel card because, well, maybe this is a particularly good day to call on the angels, but then every day is a particularly good day to call upon the angels, if you ask me. And so let's see who's out there angel-wise. Let's see what comes up. I'm using this deck, which is Ask an Angel by Tony Carmine Salerno. He is an amazing psychic artist working out of Blue Angel Galleries in Australia. And he's more a painter than a producer of decks. You know, that's the nature of his work as a spiritual artist. He paints all the time, and every now and again he gathers up some paintings and makes them into a deck according to the way he's inspired, which just seems like a fantastic way of working to me. So let's cut the deck and see what two have come out. Every time I'm determined I'm just going to do one angel card, more than one comes out. Today it's two. First one I saw was this one. This is Surrender, and the angel is Archangel Azrael. Right, and surrender is kind of quite a good idea at the moment, I think, because with so much craziness going on in the world, as it always is, and as has been in the news today, which I'll get into in a second, all we can really do is surrender to the divine, because it becomes more obvious than ever that maybe people have got the answers, but the structures that we've got to run our world don't have the answers, and they're just not making enough of a difference. Not anything like quickly enough anyway. There are people working at this all the time, but then, you know, you have to go through a string of different elections for anything to shift, and then people get their oar in with one political point or another, and people will kind of vote against something positive because another aspect of that is voting for something negative. And so, you know, it's such a tangled web, isn't it? But the angels are always on the case. They are always in charge, and as crazy as the world gets, it is the way it's meant to be at any one moment in time. And accepting that really is all about surrendering. I think we've got the dove flying up the middle of the card there towards the sun, and that dove represents the spiritual, the positive, the good side of humanity. And we are actually always on the road towards improving ourselves one way or another. I know that sounds a bit crazy when you think about what's been going on in the news in the last 24 hours or so, and actually, you know, for the last year in particular. And then how far back do we go? I mean, you know, this the issue of racism, which is what I'm going to be coming on to in a minute. We've been radically aware of it in our generation since the 1960s and Martin Luther King, but it goes back so far, you know, so much further than that, doesn't it? But when you think back to times like the Middle Ages and what we've read about the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages, when, of course, Merlin was said to be at his most active, maybe a long time even before that, I'm sure this stuff has always been going on, but things slowly improve. You know, you don't get the same kind of slaughter going on in the Western world at the present time. It certainly is still going on in the world. You think of North Korea and the concentration camps, and you know, in some ways it never ends, but slowly humanity is learning. Slowly there's less of that in the world, and slowly there is an improvement coming. So if we accept that the world is the way the Creator wants it to be right now, doesn't sound like a very nice creator, does it? But actually, it's because we need to learn. That's what reincarnation is about, the soul relearning things. And there is always some forward movement going on at soul level with the whole human race, as well as within all of us at an individual level. So all we can really do is surrender and do our best to bring change, whatever positive change we can, because it's people that make those positive changes. We've got to listen to the divine, most certainly, because that is where the inspiration is. But it's people who make the positive changes. And here's the next card that came up. This is Archangel Gabriel, and it's called Divine Love, and it's reflecting my window quite strongly into the camera at the moment. But look at that. Take comfort, guys, from that. At times when you're really feeling either distressed or at the end of your rope, or as I am, just kind of frustrated that history is excuse me, that history has repeated itself yet again. The divine is there, always trying to give us that loving embrace. And this symbol at the top of the card, so like the caduceus, that way that the divine heals, and it's a medical symbol as well, isn't it? And that is because it represents healing. So that healing is there. That healing is close at hand. So here we are in Ramadan. Anyway, it's a Taurus moon at the moment, and it's pretty well a new moon. We had a new moon in UK. It was in the early hours of Monday. In the States and Canada it was on Sunday, and this is Tuesday. So the moon is just becoming visible in the sky, and it's a good time for new things to be launched. So it's really, really good time to send your prayers out. Again, it's always a good time to send your prayers out, isn't it? But this is a particularly powerful time for anything cosmic, anything spiritual, and actually just any good thing that you want to launch in the world, because once the moon becomes visible in the sky again, we really get into that energy of the conveyor belt, the road, as it were, towards the full moon. The energy is building up, it's gathering, and things are moving on. So first thing I saw when I went on YouTube this morning to have a look at MSNBC, because in Britain I look at MSNBC on YouTube, and I get most of my news from YouTube one way or another, actually. And I'm very, very disappointed and pretty well astonished, actually, to hear about the case of DAUNTE WRIGHT, who is a very young man who's been shot dead because the police officer involved mistook her taser for a handgun. I'm astonished that could even happen. And, I don't know all the facts. All the facts are just starting to emerge at the moment. And I guess mistakes happen, and I guess it was a stressful situation. But goodness me, I'm thinking, when will people learn? And I'm talking about something across the pond in America, but those attitudes, racist attitudes exist in Britain. There really is institutionalized racism going on in our police, actually in our royal family as well, which we just can't ignore. What we heard Harry and Meghan talking about on Oprah, and that really made sense to me, actually. I totally get what Meghan was saying, and I totally get where Harry was coming from as well, because he seemed to be kind of trying to protect his family a bit. But, those things are drummed into those people from birth. And I guess, if you're born a prince and people bow to you all the time and tell you how wonderful you are, I guess you're never going to know the difference. You might have seen The Crown on Netflix, in which case you'll know what I mean. And also, I don't know if you can get it in the States, actually, but there's another fantastic royal program, and it's a comedy on Netflix called The Windsors. And in it, Prince Harry opens a nightclub bar with a disco in it and everything. And he loses £36,000 on his first night opening, which would be about $50,000, I think, something like that, maybe even more. And he can't understand it. And what it is, he's been on the bar, he's been working the bar, and he's been giving all the drinks out for free. And his accountant questions this, and he says, well, I never pay for drinks. And it's a comedy, it's a joke, but those people just never get that they're living a life which isn't really in sync with the real world, which doesn't really go hand in hand with what's actually happening in real life. I'm falling over my words today. And, we can take another step from there and think about white supremacists. They're all the product of their own family. That, and if you grow up and you're taught that, black people have something wrong with them and aren't as good or whatever, or any kind of prejudice at all. If you're taught that by your family, you have to discover the truth for yourself. And I'm not trying to take any heat off any white supremacists. I think they're horrible people. I really do. But I can see how it starts, you know, I can see where it comes from. I really can. And so in this world, we've always got to be developing and trying to go forward. It's not just Daunte Wright. Of course, this happens like about a year or so after the George Floyd killing, which only now it's going through the judicial process properly, and Derek Chauvin is in court. And there's also been a case with, what's his name? Lieutenant Nazario, a black army officer who was reduced to tears. And I watched the video, and this fat old white guy kicks him twice, but I think he puts his knee in actually, but you can see he's definitely assaults this guy twice. And there's this young white guy as well. He looks about sort of 12. I mean, when did he start shaving, I wonder? And he's pointing a gun at this, you know, black army officer, a lieutenant in the army, pretty serious. Now, they didn't actually shoot that guy, but they were certainly threatening to shoot him, and it doesn't look good, really doesn't look good. But I'm getting into rant mode now, which I don't want to get into. So guys, what I'm going to do now is bring out the tarot, and this is a 5-card reading. It's about whatever you want it to be about, because when I talk about pick a card and when I do these readings, I'm doing them for you, whoever you are, you know. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, do hit the subscribe button, and do leave me a comment as well on the video. Thumb it up if you like it too, please, because all that interaction helps our spirit guides to get to know one another, helps me to get to know who I'm actually doing these readings for. And one thing I do know is that I'm doing them for a vast range of people. The channel has been growing a bit in recent times. I'm certainly still a tiny, very small channel, but I'm grateful and delighted that things are moving, views are going up, and subscriptions are going up. Thanks, guys, for everyone. And donations are coming in, which is real nice as well. You can see my email at the bottom of the screen there, just going off 35and83@gmail.com. If you'd like a private reading, please, or a birth chart, do get in touch. And also coffee.com/twig, just appearing, where is it there? And going along now. If you'd like to look at my coffee page, big thanks to everyone who's given me a donation on coffee. Actually, it makes a massive difference. And do take a look there. There's pictures of the garden, there's pictures of my life generally, and all these ways of keeping in touch make my readings a little bit more focused on the individual viewer, you dear viewer, and that's what they're all about. So I'm with Tarot in Wonderland again, which is a very popular deck on this channel, actually, and people seem to really like it. I certainly like it. The meanings are slightly different from the traditional tarot, but hell, why not? That's what I think. And that's what I say. Really no reason at all why not, because there are so many tarot readers out there, aren't there? And I think we might as well get a different take on the tarot if we possibly can. So I have got 5 cards here, and we'll do some significatory oracle cards to go with those as well, I think. And the first of those, turning over the top one from my Moonology deck, since we're into a new moon, is this one. It says, it's time to release negativity. And the energy of this card is the full moon in Scorpio, which you can see in the writing at the bottom there. It's not, at the moment, it's very much the new moon. It came in Aries, and now we're in Taurus. It's that kind of Taurus new moon. Things are building up. But it's definitely time to release negativity. And there has been yet more negativity in the world, as I was just saying, my little political rant there, which I hope you'll forgive me for. I just can't resist it. Anyway, let's turn over card number 1 of this 5-card tarot spread. In fact, before that, let me show you the cards. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which one of those cards are you drawn to, friends? Or are you drawn to all 5? I think there's a lot to be said for following all 5. But hey, you know, it's entirely up to you. That's always how I roll. So we'll turn over the top one. And what we have here is the Seven of Pentacles. Right, so there's all the meaning of the Pentacles, so the suit of Pentacles, very earthy, very grounded, and great abundance always involved with the Pentacles as well. And I think with the world economic situation as it is, and everything that's going on in the world, really, just about all of us are hoping for greater abundance. Well, I think actually everyone is hoping for greater abundance, but just about all of us could be said to deserve more abundance in one way or another. It's a kind of sickness being super rich, you know. You can have a multi-billionaire like Bill Gates or someone, and he's always trying to work out how he could get some more money from you, you know. If a multi-billionaire finds out that you've got kind of $5 in your pocket, he will immediately try and start thinking, what could I sell that person to get that $5? And could I sell them? Could I get it for $1 so I get profit? It never goes away. And you know, those people, they're always going to be seeking abundance. It's a fact of life, deserved or undeserved. But for the rest of us, it's a much more genuine thing that we seek abundance. And we've got the Seven of Pentacles here, and this is actually a very good metaphor for the way the world is at the moment. We've got all this abundance at the top of the tree, but if we come down here, the actual base of the tree trunk is growing out of a tiny hole in the ground, and it hasn't really got room to spread its roots out and develop. And that's the nature of everything that's going on in the world at the moment. It's really hard to get a business off the ground. It's really hard to make a difference. And if we can't make a difference, we can't really grow the tree. But the positive side of it is this is the Seven of Pentacles, and the tree already has the pentacles growing on it. It already has the flowers growing on it, and there's already quite a bit of abundance there. So maybe that's something we should kind of focus on, you know, look for the blessings that we've actually got in this life. And there are many kind of things going on which are very much the opposite of blessings, no doubt about that. But the Seven of Pentacles says the blessings are there. We've just got to give them that bit more room to spread their wings and really kind of get into the important business of bringing that abundance to everyone, I suppose. You know, we live in a world now where there is enough abundance that nobody needs to be starving, but the people who own the abundance are becoming a smaller and smaller percentage of the world, and that is actually stopping it spreading to the people who deserve it, who need it. And there's another thing with the royal family, actually. Our Queen, the Queen of England, does actually own enough money to end all the poverty in the world once and for all. But you know, they've always got a reason why she can't do that. And I really wonder what could possibly be a good reason for sitting on all that abundance and not actually letting that happen. Crazy stuff. But that's card number one. That's where we're at in the world at the moment, and there is great potential for things to improve, for things to go forward, for things to keep moving, and things will keep moving, but let's hope they keep moving in a positive direction as we come to card number two. And this one is the Hermit. It is number 9 in the major arcana, so this is quite an intense kind of situation here, and it's all the build up to the next card, number 3, which is going to be the heart of the matter. So this is definitely part of where we're at now. It's almost like where we're headed at the moment before we get a chance to change course and do something different. And the Hermit, to me, certainly in terms of the racism that's going on, and Ramadan is a good time to be reminded of that, actually, because it's a time when at one time Ramadan was kind of alien to a lot of the cultures in the world. Now it's less so. Now it's becoming something that you know, black and white share alike in, you know, and it's a very enlightening thing if you find out about Ramadan. Really interesting. And it's the return of the light, really. And we've got a beautiful sunny day in Wales, United Kingdom today, I have to say. So the light is coming in here, but for that light to come in, you know, we have to look at the inner light, and that's what the Hermit is all about. He's riding off between the trees here to actually have a look inside himself. Now, this character in this deck is also the Knight of Cups, so he kind of appreciates his fine wines and he appreciates his abundance. And this is kind of like The people who've got the abundance in the world at the moment, that they need to look spiritually inside themselves. They need to discover that inner light big time. It's super important that that gets happening before very long at all. Goodness me, it really is important. But you know, when will they learn? Well, they'll learn when they look inside themselves, really. And Alice in the background is waving bye-bye, and she's kind of almost tearful. She's waving her hanky, and she's not happy to see the knight disappearing into the woods there. But it has to happen, you know, that inner reflection has to happen. And the point is, Alice will see him again. And this, my friends, is what I think the world leaders really need to do at the moment, rather than just kind of trying to get out of, you know, whatever's been in the news, whatever's been happening, whatever they've been caught red-handed doing. The world leaders need to kind of retreat into themselves and understand the actual truth, the actual reality of what they're doing, and how crazy it is to hang on to that abundance all the time. Because once you actually let go of the abundance, then other people have money and they spend their money on the stuff that the billionaires are selling. So the billionaires maybe have a bit less, but they're still very rich, and they're still very, very much more secure, actually, than they would be at the present time, because people have money to actually buy things. If you're listening in Britain, you'll know what I mean when I talk about Margaret Thatcher. You probably know all about her in the States and Canada as well. Actually, she's a very famous lady around the world, and she finally lost control. She was the Prime Minister for a very long time, and she finally lost control because the very wealthy people that run the British Conservative Party now, and their, you know, predecessors who ran it before, weren't able to make any money because everyone was so poor they couldn't afford to buy anything. And that was how Margaret Thatcher came down. So it can happen, you know, positive change really can happen. Just got to drum it into these idiots that run the world. You really have. Whoa, loads of politics going on today. And as I turn over card 3, I'm giving myself a slap on the wrist, because when I rant like that, I'm losing my temperance. And this card is another one from the Major Arcana, number 14 in fact, and it's Temperance. So there's a lot of forward movement there from the 9, the hermit. And so that shows us it is going to take some time, but it's not going to take forever. It really isn't. Okay, enlightenment does come in. I'm very happy to say I was on a meditation once where a big group meditation, there's a large group of us got together and meditated. Excuse me. And one way or another, when we talked about it afterwards, we had all been shown that the Earth, as many billions of years old as the Earth is, it is actually quite useful in terms of spiritual development and what the human race is going through at the moment. And we were shown that in many, many more billions of years' time, everything will be in balance and everything will be good. So we might as well start now. We might as well get stuck in with temperance here. Okay, there's some alternative thinking going on here. We've got Mr. Caterpillar at the top, sitting on the big fly agaric mushroom there over Alice's head. And it looks like he's been smoking a hookah pipe as well. Don't want to say too much about what that means, but the caterpillar is actually the magician in this deck, and he's also the knight. I can't remember it, but he's one of the cup cards. He's the wish card anyway. He's the 9 of cups. That's it. He's the wish card. So he's a very positive character, a very magical character, and what he represents to me, and I hope to you too, guys, in this card, and you must read these the way you want to, okay? The most important interpretation of any of these cards, my friends, is the interpretation you put on it. But to me, he represents the magical side of life, and he's up on the fly agaric mushroom there. And I strongly don't recommend anybody takes those. Okay, I might possibly know a bit about that myself, though I'm not going to admit that. But yeah, you got to be kind of careful with things that make you hallucinate. Really don't go there, guys. It's much better to kind of keep it real, because we can find the magical answers in this life, and that's the thing. The caterpillar there is actually over the top of the main character there. She doesn't actually, she's nowhere near the hookah pipe. The caterpillar is up there, and the divine is always at work. That's what it represents, and positive change can always come because of that. Since that's the middle card, let's do a significatory one to take a bit more of a look into. I'll just turn over the top one from Moonology again. And goodness me, it's another Scorpio card. This time it's new moon in Scorpio. So we've had full moon in Scorpio and new moon in Scorpio. And since this is coming out over the middle card, the heart of the matter, that's interesting because we've like stepped back from the full moon energy into the new moon energy. And it is actually new moon at the moment. She's in Taurus, not Scorpio. But there is a thing, you know, we have to kind of step back. That's really the nature of what this whole reading has been all about so far. Maybe the next two cards will confound me. I don't know. We will see. But it says work through your fears, and that is what's going to take time. And it's working through fear that really is going to make a difference, because there's two ways of looking at that. There's like working through the fear, passing through the fear to the other side, and you know, have things constantly improving. And there's working through fear. And it would seem to be the police who work because of fear, in that other sense of it, who would kind of, you know, get really worried and pull a taser out and then accidentally pull a gun out and shoot someone, for example. Okay, and I'm really not beating up anyone American over this, by the way. Many of my friends are Americans, and I've got to know and love many more American friends through this channel. Actually, and as I said before, this is something that goes on in Britain as well. When I joined the RAF, I was in the Air Force here in the early 1980s. I went from the night before I joined up, when my dad, my father, my physical father, was in charge of the house I lived in and everything that went on at age 16, and then I joined the Air Force. And that the very next day, you know, that I joined the Air Force, that night when I went to bed to sleep, my commanding officer was in charge of me. And my commanding officer was a Nigerian, you know, a black guy. And he was great. You could trust him. There wasn't a problem. And I thought then, thank goodness, you know, racism is going to be kind of going down. And hopefully by the time I'm a bit older, racism won't be a thing. Well, you know, crazy, because racism still is a thing. I absolutely can't believe it. Another Air Force example is just, you know, everyone having to work together and live together. And if there was a black guy, if there was a Maltese guy, it didn't matter who it was, anybody there had gone through the same vetting process. We were all okay people. We were all honest people without criminal records. And we all went through that boot camp together. And you could always trust anyone who wore the same uniform, man or woman, regardless of their gender, regardless of the color of their skin, because basically we're all people. We'd all gone through the training, we'd all learned from it, and we could all trust each other. And I'm just absolutely amazed that racism is still a thing. Anyway, gone into a bit of a rant there. Let's get on to card number 4. Okay, 4 of Pentacles. Card number 4 is a 4. So this is the short-term future, and this to me represents the way the authorities are at the moment, not just over racism, but over money, over the controversy around the pandemic that's going on, and that's really been getting politicians hiding away, actually, because no one wants to call it wrong and be accused of being responsible for lots of deaths. Of course, there was a very famous world leader who was finally deposed in January, who didn't seem to care what anybody thought of how stupid his ideas about it were, or how stupid his ideas about it seemed to be. I must speak respectfully. But yeah, most world leaders are kind of hiding away at the moment, and the mouse is hiding in the kettle, and the mouse has put the kettle lid on his head like it's a tin hat, and that is keeping the mouse away from the abundance, you see, because this is the 4 of Pentacles. There are only 3 pentacles in the teapot. The 4th pentacle is carved out on, where is it? Oh, the camera will always flip things, so I can't point to them. Right there is a biscuit with a pentacle carved out on it, and someone's had a bite of that biscuit. The mouse would like to eat it. So come on, world leaders, and come on you, my friend, if you picked card number 4, get out of the teapot, stop hiding away, and get a bite of that biscuit before someone else has it. Oh, it's got me thinking I'm going to have a biscuit after I've done this. But hey, I'm still enjoying doing this at the moment, and if I eat a biscuit now, I won't be able to talk. But that's life. There's always a biscuit hanging around somewhere, if you're lucky. If not, it's a a short trip to the shops to get yourself some biscuits, which is my tip for feeling. That's my feel-good tip of the day, or my feel-good tip of this video anyway. So what, my friends, is card number 5 going to be? Let's take a look. It's the Two of Pentacles. It's that juggling act. That is so what is going on in the world, on a worldwide scale at the moment. It's actually going on a universal scale as well. All those movements going on in the planets that we talk about in astrology are all something to do with the universe trying to come into balance. And everything we go through in this world, everything the politicians of this world put us through, and they never stop putting us through it, is some kind of balance coming into being, because people eventually learn. I'm not saying politicians eventually learn, but we all learn from their mistakes in the end. That's how it goes, you know. And the good news here is this is the Mad Hatter, so he's being a bit crazy about it, but he's not actually going to drop the pentacles. You can see they're both kind of in a position where he can quite easily catch hold of them. And there's some floating teacups in the sea there, which could tip over at any minute by the look of it, because there's obviously a storm blowing, but they look safe there. They're weathering the storm, and that's what the human race is doing at the moment, friends, weathering the storm. So let's turn over another significatory card, since we've got to card number 5. Oh, 2 have come out together. Okay, first one I've got is expect powerful change. All right, and that really does kind of tie in with the way that reading went and how it actually worked itself out. And it ties in with the way the world is at the moment, you know, because nothing stays the same forever. And when we're in powerfully controversial times like we're in at the moment, powerful change does actually have to come. When you think about what Martin Luther King must have been concerned with during his life, I wonder if for him and Malcolm X it ever seemed like segregation on buses and stuff would end. Of course, there is still racism about it. It hasn't ended, not by a very long way. I'm saddened and almost ashamed to say, as a human being, actually, racism is still such a thing. But it moved on, some improvements came, and I don't expect Martin Luther King really... I mean, he had a dream, didn't he? He had a dream. Did he believe that dream would ever actually come true? Certainly not in his lifetime, and sadly it didn't. You know, his life was ended rather, well, very much too soon. But expect powerful change. That's the message there, and that is the energy of what's going on in the world right here, right now. The other card that came out, Balsamic Moon, a time for healing. And this just reminds us that things always calm down. And we are in a new moon now, where the moon energy is growing, but the lunar influence generally is a lot calmer than we usually have to endure, put it that way. So stuff is happening, but there's going to be time for reflection. That's what that's telling me. That's what this whole reading has been telling me so far, actually. So on that note, friends, I'm going to end this one here. At the moment, I'm not totally trusting my car, right? But if I can get my car in really good shape, I'm going to take a drive out to Preseli, and we'll do some shooting down there, and we'll get some footage of the Preseli mountain, where the great Merlin actually got the blue stones from that we find in the middle of Stonehenge, and we can kind of muse and wonder at how he actually managed to get them there. There is a video I did last week. There are several Merlin videos actually that I did last week. So if you haven't seen those yet, do check them out, friends, all about it. And as I say, I'm going to take a drive out there soon if I possibly can. Also got plans to drive to Glastonbury, but that is a real long one. I've really got to get the car in top-notch condition before I do that. But in the meantime, friends, thank you very, very much for watching this video. If you'd like a private reading, do get in touch with me, 35and83@gmail.com. It's going along the bottom of your screen right this minute. And also do visit the other thing that's going along the bottom of your screen right this minute, coffee.com/twig. Okay, and there are clicky links down in the description to both of those. Excuse me, to both of those. So it's easy to get in touch if you want to get in touch. Meanwhile, look out for the live stream sessions. I'm breaking up now. That'll teach me not to have a cup of tea in front of me at the moment. What are you going to do? Right, yeah, live streams coming up every Wednesday and every Sunday, 9 p.m. UK time. That is 3 p.m. USA, Central USA. Okay, so that's 1 p.m. Pacific And I think that makes it 4 p.m. Eastern. So I hope you can work your time zone out from that. Meanwhile, I'll say it again. Thanks very much for watching, friends. I totally appreciate you guys. Couldn't do without you. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for all the help. I'll see you again in a future video. Love and light and blessings and peace.